lie down with your block right underneath your shoulder blades. So across the shoulder blades, and we'll lie down with the hands behind the head. So supporting your head in your hands. Elbows can be in as tight as you need, and we're just gonna start leaning back over the block and then kind of rounding, maybe lifting off the block a little bit, just the shoulder blades. So you can start with some spinal extension as we lean over the block, spinal flexion as we round. You can have the elbows open as much as you want to open the chest, as long as that feels okay. You can start to move side to side. Anything that feels good as we just kind of free up this upper back area. Wherever you need a little bit more movement, if you're feeling stiff. Now you can just roll to your side a little bit, slide that block out. And now the block's gonna come between the knees or the thighs, whatever width, as we come into some really slow segmental bridge poses. So we're gonna try to lift and lower one vertebra at a time. You could have hands on the ribs, the thighs, the pelvic points, and we'll curl the tailbone up, lift up like you're trying to just move one vertebra at a time off the mat. Lifting into that low bridge. We're still staying low, so those shoulder blades stay down. And then same thing as you lower. Try to touch down one vertebra at a time, kind of waving your spine up and down, in and out of this low bridge. So really take your time. Notice if there are some parts that feel really stiff where you lower down like a whole chunk at a time, and see if we can really articulate the spine. So we're really getting into that lumbar spine right now, the lowest part of the spine. Waking up the glutes. One more. We're gonna hold in our low bridge, really pushing into the feet. Feel your two pelvic points draw in toward each other. Let's stretch out that left wrist. So left palm up, we pull back on the fingers. Breathing into the ribs. Switch hands. Stretch out the right wrist. Hands can come back down to the ground, to your ribs, to your thighs. Take one more big breath in. Exhale, segmentally lower the spine down one vertebra at a time, all the way until we land the sacrum right above the tailbone. We'll adjust the block or keep it where it is for our core work. Hands come behind the head, elbows up or elbows in. Big breath in. Exhale, hug the block. Feel your front ribs pull down toward the pelvis as you lift up. So we're just trying to get off the shoulder blades. It's not a big rounding of the spine. Inhale to lower. Exhale, hug the block. Feel those front ribs pull down toward the pelvis, not yanking on the head. Inhale and lower. Adding on, exhale, hug the block and lift. Elbows in nice and tight. We're going to turn from the very center of the chest. 1 inch to the left, staying off that left shoulder blade. Bring it back to center. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift, hugging the block, not pulling on the head. From the center of the chest, turn 1 inch to the right, staying off that right shoulder blade. Come back to center. Inhale, lower. Exhale, hug the block and lift. Keep that sacrum down. This time we're going to side bend to the left. So we shorten that left side of the torso, but stay off the shoulder blade. Bring it back to center. Inhale, lower. Exhale, hug the block and lift. Side bend to the right. Shorten that right side. Stay off the right shoulder blade. Come back to center. Inhale and lower down. Let's take the block out. You can hug the knees in, take a little rock side to side or up and down. And we're going to make our way to quadruped. So coming to hands and knees, you could be on fists or you could be on the palms. We're going to start with lateral flexion, which is side bending in the spine, but we're going to do it segmentally. So we're going to start with this lowest part of the spine, the lumbar spine. You're just going to imagine you have a tail on your tailbone. Wag that tail side to side, kind of like you're swaying the hips right and left, but try to hold the rest of the spine still. So shoulders don't move, ribs don't move. Now come back to center. We're going to try to just do the mid and upper back. So we're going to side bend the ribs, like we're arcing the ribs side to side. Your right shoulder is going to get closer to the right hip, and then left shoulder gets closer to the left hip. Shortening one side of the torso and lengthening the other. Now bring that back to center. Same thing with the head and neck. So cervical spine, lateral flexion, ear to shoulder. And then other ear to shoulder. We'll try that a couple times. Holding everything else still. Now let's put that all together. Wag or side bend everything to the right and to the left. So as we side bend right, that whole right side is shortening, ear to shoulder, ear toward the hip, and then left ear toward the left hip. Kind of like a C shape if you're going one direction. Bring it back to center and we'll cat-cow. Mobilizing the spine into that extension as we lift the tailbone, and flexion as we tuck the tailbone and round the back. Let's come to that cat position, that really rounded back, spreading the shoulder blades apart, really pressing into the ground with the fingertips and the knuckles. We'll tuck the toes, pike the pelvis straight up for down dog. Pick up through the hip creases, lift the ribs up, let the neck release. Think about getting as long as you can through the sides of the body by really lifting the thigh bones up. Let's walk the hands back toward the feet. Load the heels into happy squat. Let the neck relax. Press the ground away, and we're going to rise up at the back of the mat, adding some lateral flexion or side bending as we walk forward. So we'll step our right foot forward, knees stay soft so that pubic bone zippers up. Left arm up, right arm down. We're going to slide the right fingers down, arcing the ribs up and over. And then switch. Left foot steps forward, right arm up. We slide the left fingertips down, getting this nice stretch and side bend through the right side. Just keep walking your way forward. Lateral flexion of the spine. When you get to the front, we'll pause there, rechecking our triple S. So imagining that broom behind our back. We reach the arms forward and up. Grow longer through the sides of the torso by reaching the armpits up. Hinge forward, spine is long, right foot steps back, lower the knee and the top of the foot, and we'll lift up into our 90-90. Super active in this right glute. Let's let the arms dangle and roll one shoulder back at a time. Freeing up the upper back. Feeling those scapula move. Now clasp your hands in front of you and we'll protract. Spread the shoulder blades apart and then kind of dome the upper back, like we're letting the upper back round, but don't let that affect our neutral pelvis or the firmness of that right glute. Breathe into that mid-back area. Come back up, hands or fists come down for quadruped. Instead of plank, we're just gonna belly roll. Circle the torso, maybe 2 to 3 times in either direction. Tuck the toes, down dog. Really pike the pelvis up, lift the ribs, press into the fingers, take a big breath. Now you can, of course, step the right foot straight forward into your 90-90 lunge or lower the knees, quadruped. Right foot steps forward, untuck the left toes. We're in 90-90 on the other side. Zipper the pubic bone to the belly, firm that left glute, roll one shoulder back at a time. Beginning to free up that upper back around the neck, the shoulders. And then let's really get into that mid back, kind of right around that bra line area by interlacing the fingers. Protract, shoulder blades spread apart. From there, keep reaching or pulling the arms forward as we round the upper back, but keep zippering the pubic bone up to the belly. Like you could breathe directly into those back ribs. Come back up, hands come forward or they can come to a block. Left foot steps forward to meet the right, bent knee forward fold, reach the arms up. Grow longer through the sides of the waist by reaching up through the pinkies, hinge forward. Left foot steps back, lower the knee but not the toes. So we're gonna rise up 90-90, zipper the pubic bone up. We're gonna do left arm up, lift the armpit way up toward the ear. You could bring right hand to the front ribs to make sure we don't arch the back. And we'll side bend. That's that lateral flexion up and over to the right, but keep pushing that left glute forward. You can also let the right ear dangle a little bit more toward that right shoulder. And from here, we'll bring left arm out. Keep that palm facing up for now. And then pull your left fingers down. So we're in wrist extension, a little nerve stretch for the left side of the neck. Head comes back up, hands come down or fists come down, quadruped. Belly roll or torso circle a couple times both ways. We're getting some nice movement in the spine. Tuck the toes, down dog. Lift the hip creases up, lift the ribs up toward the body. You can step your left foot straight forward into 90-90 or drop the knees. Left foot forward, we keep those right toes tucked. Rising up, imaginary broom behind us. Right arm up, armpit way up toward the ear. Maybe hand to those front ribs. Side bend to the left, lateral flexion. So we're lengthening this right side as we shorten the left side of the torso. Keep that right glute firm. Maybe left ear drops more toward the shoulder. Right arm comes out, palm up. And we pull the fingertips down so our palm is facing outward. Big stretch for this right side of the neck. Float the head up. Hands come forward to a block. Right foot steps forward to meet the left. Bent knee forward fold. Reach up. We're going to start our sequence. Hinge forward. Long spine. Right foot back. Lower the knee. Not the toes. We're gonna maybe bring a block if we've got it under the right hand. If not, you can prop up onto the fingertips or come to that right fist. But we want our spine nice and neutral, left hip crease moving back, left fingertips reach down toward the foot or toward the ground, and we'll pull the left elbow up as we turn the ribs left. Maybe letting the right ear release to the shoulder. And then bring it back down. So kind of like a lawnmower pull that left elbow up, turn the ribs left, and then bring it down. We're isolating the ribs so the thoracic spine is rotating, but the low back doesn't turn. Let the right ear release to the shoulder as much as it feels good to release the neck on that left side. Both hands come down. You can untuck the right toes if that feels better. We're gonna slide the left leg back for three-legged quadruped, but keep the toes on the ground. Right hip stays really active, and we'll slide the left toes across to the right. So crossing behind the body into hip adduction. Now take your left arm, reach it either straight forward as you zipper the pubic bone up, or you can reach your left fingertips over toward the right corner of the mat, getting more of a side body stretch in that left side. but I want you to lift the ribs up. So we're not arching the back, we're almost trying to lift the front body away from the ground. Breathing into that left side. Good, left hand comes back under the shoulder. We're gonna take that left foot, step it forward. So maybe use a block if that's helpful for you to transition. We're gonna turn to the right side of the mat. Externally rotate the hips into our goddess squat. Feel those two pelvic points draw in. Arms reach out and we're gonna shift the ribs right and left. We're trying to hold the pelvis really still so we're not swinging the hips side to side. We're just shifting the ribs. Right and left. You'll feel a little pull on the side body, maybe even the lower back. Take your block. We're going to place it right at those front low ribs and turn to the back of the mat into a high lunge. So the block is going to stay here to make sure we don't arch the back as we hinge forward, tilted crescent. From where the block is, we turn the ribs maybe half an inch, maybe an inch to the right. Unwind and come back upright. Hinge forward. Only from where the block is, we turn to the right. Nothing changes. Unwind and bring it back. So you can do this at any pace. This is a great way to check in with our habits. Are we used to turning from the hips or the lower back? Are we used to leading with the head or the eyes? Really push into that left big toe. Good, block can come down. We're gonna head to quadruped facing the back of the mat. If you wanna have hands elevated on a block or two or come to fist, we're gonna do something called rolling quadruped. So we're gonna step our left foot out to the left. Hip is externally rotated to any amount that feels comfortable. You're gonna take your left arm and sweep it back, up and around. And then back to quadruped, right foot steps out to the right. Right arm sweeps from the back all the way to the front. And we're going to keep alternating. This could be really slow. You could pick up the pace. We're getting some movement through the hips and through the spine. A little side bend, a little rounding or flexion. Some mobility for the shoulder. Now we'll come to quadruped, still facing the back of the mat. And we're going to do that lateral flexion. So we kind of peek toward the hip like we're trying to bring our ear to our hip as we sway or side bend, side to side. Come to center, tuck the toes, hike the pelvis up, down dog, pressing into the fingers and the knuckles. Walk your hands back towards your feet, happy squat. Spine stays just as long by bending the knees. We press the ground away, rise up. A little cross ankle pivot, right foot crosses over. We lift the heels and turn back to the front. Let's do that on the second side. So we reach the arms up. Armpits lift way up toward the ears, hinge forward. Left foot steps back, lower the knee but not the toes. Grab your block, it's gonna come under that left hand or left shoulder. Right fingertips reach down. We do that bow pull, reach the right elbow up as we turn the ribs. Let the neck release and then bring it down. Pull the elbow up as we turn just the ribs. Hips don't change. Low back doesn't change. Couple more times. Feeling this turn through the rib cage, thoracic rotation. Both hands come down. Right toes slide back for three-legged quadruped. They stay on the ground. And then we slide the right toes over toward the left. So crossing behind the body, zipper the pubic bone up. Right fingertips can reach straight forward. Or you can reach your right fingertips over to the left. And we're kind of pushing into that left hand like we're lifting the front body away from the ground. So you should get this kind of side body stretch through that right side. Good, back to quadruped. We step right foot forward, lift up, turning to the side of the mat, goddess squat. Externally rotate, pelvic points draw in, arms reach out. We shift or glide the ribs right and left. This might be such a small movement. We don't want to feel that the hips are rocking with it. Hips stay still. And we just try to reach the rib cage. A little lateral shift or lateral glide. Grab your block. We're going to turn to the back of the mat into high lunge. Block comes right to those front lower ribs. Hinge forward, not letting the ribs sink down. From the block, we turn maybe a half an inch to the left. Unwind and come back up. Hinge forward. From the block, we turn the ribs. Unwind and come back up. Take this any pace. Check in with your tendency to lead with the head or the eyeballs, or to lead by twisting from the low back. Thoracic rotation, we're turning from the ribs, pushing into that right big toe. Let's lower to quadruped. We'll do that rolling quadruped. Right foot steps out to the right. We sweep that right arm back and forth. Left foot steps out. Sweep the left arm from the back of the mat to the front. Any pace that feels good to move. Back to quadruped. Add that lateral flexion, that side bend. So we kind of swing the hips side to side. We turn the head with it. We arc the ribs side to side. Back to quadruped. Tuck the toes. Pike the pelvis up. Down dog. Big breaths into the rib cage. Walk your hands back to your feet, happy squat. We press the ground away. Cross ankle pivot, we cross the left ankle over, lift the heels, and turn back to the front. Okay, we are gonna do our stream, so we're gonna do that one more time with some little add-ons to make it a little bit more fun and challenging. We'll reach the arms up, shoulder blades lift, we hinge. Right foot steps back. Lower the knee, but not the toes. Let's bring that block under the right hand or come to your right fist or fingertips. Spine is long. This time we take left arm out to the left. Turn through the ribs. Arm just follows. Now we take that left arm like we're trying to give our left thigh a hug. So left arm comes under the left leg. And again, we turn the ribs, float the arm, but we don't lead with the arm. And then bring it under. Turn through the ribs. Bring it under. One more time. Turn through the ribs. Bring it under. Good. Hands come down. This time our left foot steps out to the left for an adductor position. So our left leg is out to the left, toes facing forward. We'll take a rock back. Inner thigh stretch. Now we'll add a side bend. Walk your hands over toward the left, any amount. Side bending through that right side. Come back, shoulders over the wrist. Take your left toes, slide them over to the right. Hip adduction, other way. And we come left fingertips forward or left fingertips cross over to the right like we did the first time. Shoulders over the wrists, left foot out to the left. Rock back one time. And then side bend. Walk your hands over to the left any amount. Shoulders over the wrist. Left leg comes over to the right. Hip adduction. And then we bring it either fingertips straight forward or cross over to the right. Side body stretch for the left side. Good. Quadruped for a moment. We step left foot forward. Rise up with your block. Turn to the side of the mat this time. Feet are parallel. We side lunge right. From where the block is, turn the ribs. Unwind. Side lunge left. Only where the block is, we rotate. So really isolating that thoracic spine. Turning through the ribs. Notice if your tendency is to want to lead with the head or the eyes, or the hips and low back. Turn to the back of the mat, left hand plants either on the ground or a block. Left knee slides in, modified side plank. Right foot back, we'll keep it grounded. Right hand behind the head. Let's bring the elbow down. So a little rotation, a little rounding of the back. And then bring the elbow back up. Chest faces side of the mat. Elbow comes down. And bring it back up. We're trying to hold that left shoulder so still, so stable, and just rotate the ribs around it. Back to quadruped. This time we just cat-cow. Check in with your breath. Let's tuck the toes, down dog. Press into the fingers and the knuckles. This time we'll swivel our down dog. Feet, knees, toes turn to the left. And then we turn to the right with the lower body. But we keep lifting the ribs up. Staying really active in the hands and the arms so we get this stretch through the side body. Find that centered down dog. We're going to step our right foot forward as far as you can. Ground that left heel for warrior two. Interlace just the knuckles at the sacrum, back of the pelvis, and turn your head side to side. Cervical rotation. Make sure it's just rotating the neck, not changing the shoulders or the chest. Bring the head back to center, arms come out. We're going to reverse and variation leading with the neck. So as we reverse, left ear to the shoulder, side bending the neck, and then the upper body goes with it. Reverse. Warrior two. Now side bend the neck, right ear to shoulder. Bring it forward, variation. Warrior two. One last time, ear to shoulder. Reverse. Warrior two. Right ear to the shoulder. Variation. Warrior two, and we turn it back to the front of the mat. Let's do the second side. Reach the arms up. Hinge forward. Left foot back. Lower the knee but not the toes. Right hand can come to the ground. Fist, fingertips, or a block. Or left hand, sorry. Right arm out to the side. We turn the ribs. And then sweep the arm under the leg. Turn the ribs without turning the low back. Sweep it under. Try that a couple more times. Now bring the hands down under the shoulders. Right leg steps out to the right. Inner thigh stretch. We rock it back. And then side bend. Walk your hands over to the right. Lateral flexion. Shoulders over your wrist. Right leg crosses behind you toward the left. Right fingertips can reach forward or all the way to the left. Side bending the right side. Shoulders over the wrist. Right leg out to the right. Hinge one time, adductor rock. And then we'll add that lateral flexion. Side bend over to the right. Shoulders over the wrist. Right leg crosses behind you, hip adduction. Right fingertips forward or over toward the left. Lifting that front body. Back to quadruped for a moment. We step right foot forward, grab your block, turn to the side of the mat, side lunges. Block to the front ribs, side lunge left. Only where the block is, we rotate. Unwind, side lunge right. Rotate where the block is. So we're holding the pelvis and the low back still. Holding the head still. Turning from the ribs. Turn to the back of the mat. Right hand plants, modified side plank. You're welcome to bring it to a block. Left foot steps back. Left hand behind the head. We bring the elbow down and back up. Right shoulder stays still and strong as we turn the ribs. So it's a little rotation, but also a little flexion because we're rounding the back a little bit. One more. Quadruped at the back of the mat. Cat-cow. Spinal extension and flexion. Down dog, tuck the toes, lift the ribs up toward the body, and we swivel the lower body side to side. So keep the heels lifted, knees stay nice and bent. Press into the fingers. Find that centered down dog. We'll step left foot forward as far as we can. Ground that right heel, warrior two, adjust as needed. Knuckles to the sacrum, turn the head side to side. Cervical rotation. Head comes back to center, arms reach out. We start our side bend in the neck. Right ear to shoulder, side bend, reverse. Warrior two, left ear to shoulder, side bend the neck. Continue bringing it forward, variation. One more time, warrior two, side bend the neck. Cervical lateral flexion, and then the whole spine goes with it. Left ear to the shoulder, side bend it forward. Turn to the front of the mat, quadruped. You can cat-cow or belly roll. You can take a child's pose with a side bend or a puppy pose, keeping the hips as high as you want, walking the hands over toward the left, but we don't want to arch the back or droop the ribs. So just like we did before, feel those ribs lift away from the ground up toward the body. Breathing into that right side. And walk your hands over to the right corner. Really lift that front body up. Might even feel a stretch all the way up toward the armpit. And we'll come out of it, make your way onto your back. If you would like, the block can come under the base of the skull this time. So instead of under the shoulder blades like when we started, it can come right behind the base of the skull. Hands anywhere you want. And let's turn the head side to side. Give those suboccipital muscles at the base of the skull a little massage. You can start to lift the chin up and down. So flexion and extension of the cervical spine. You can drop ear to shoulder and side bend in the cervical spine. Do whatever feels good. Getting rid of any stiffness in the neck. Feel free to stay here or for a breath or so, lift the hips, place the block under the sacrum if your knees are bent. And we'll do the same kind of thing here, rock side to side on the sacrum. So as we shift our weight kind of to the right hip and left hip, we're getting some really gentle rotation in the lumbar spine. You could, of course, tip forward and back. pelvic tilts, tuck and untuck. Anything that feels good for that lower part of the spine. You can stay here or lift off the block. Come to any restful position, letting your eyes close, relaxing your forehead, relaxing your jaw. Take a moment to thank yourself for your practice today. Whenever you're ready to finish up your practice, send one grateful thought out into the universe.